Okay. All right, ladies. Everyone. Okay, so we have yet, because we're in basics, we have yet to go to, it's still January. We have yet to go to an actual face, because I want us to get a sense of kind of in general where proportions sit. And in fact, we're not even, as Gina was pointing out last week, we're not even talking about proportions of the face if the head is turned. I want us to kind of practice placing things in the right direction. And then I've already done a little bit of review. I've already done a little bit of sort of in-depth lessons on eyes. I would like to kind of continue, and we've talked about face planes. So I'd like to talk about how the face planes fit in with the nose, fit in with the mouth, how to sort of line up the mouth with the eyes, kind of figure out where the ears go. And then I'm going to let you just go, creating a face, you know, kind of trying to finish your face as much as possible. So, and you can kind of do whatever you want. I mean, you know, of course you can always do whatever you want, but I'm going to challenge you to kind of stay within the guidelines. So I sent this across. This is from my book. Where's my book? My book is, I'll find my book in a minute. My book is cut, it's around here somewhere. Oh, there it is over there. Here, hold on, I'll go get it.
I thought I had it, and then I realized you had just sent us pages of it.
Yeah, I just sent you pages of it. You can buy it if you want to. It's a 50-page book. Here, hold on. Shameless plug here. I wrote this book about 6 years ago and published this book about 6 years ago. It's called The Roaming Studio, Step-by-Step Guide to Drawing Faces. And so a lot of the materials that you see are from this. And it actually goes through drawing a face in pencil, step-by-step, drawing a face in charcoal, step-by-step, and drawing a face in ink, step-by-step. It's a great book. Here's my publishing company. Here's the dude I was telling you about. He was like, he was fantastic, Ken. He was just like, I do not believe you when you tell me where the ears are, even though. So you can buy this on Amazon if you want to. I'm going to give you some materials, but I'm not going to give you all of them because that would be silly. And then why would you buy the book? And also, I'm giving you enough to like kind of fill on. But it's also my sort of whole brain dump on what I learned about faces. One of the things I really love about faces is how much technique there is. And if you know it, how much easier it is. I'll never say faces are easy, but how much easier it is when you can draw the face. So we're going to start once again with kind of an egg shape, but be careful not to get, let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's not start with an egg shape. Let's start with a cross. Okay. Already I'm changing up the decision making. So don't do what I do. Do what I say. Do what I do. Here, I'll get another piece of paper. Even. It's not. I have my whole little station set up here. It's so nice. I'm sorry about last week being so choppy. I think you guys did a great job considering. Face planes is a great lesson though. It really helps. Okay, so before we actually draw our face, let's start with the basic basics. I'm going to draw kind of the top and the bottom of the face. I'm randomly deciding it. And then I'm going to find the halfway point. And I can do that a couple of ways. I can do that by kind of trying to guess where I think the halfway point is and then checking by putting my thumb. You can see the top of the pencil is lined up at the top of the half and the thumb is lined up at the bottom of the half. Up, you can see I made that a little bit too big. So I can move it up a little bit. This is good because it kind of tests your ability to visually see where things are. You'll be surprised at, oh, nope, too high up now. Okay, so it's got to be like right here in the middle. You can also use your fingers. There we go. So try number 3, not too bad. Or, you know, you can use a ruler to find the halfway point, but I think this is kind of a better way because it's better to have less numbers in your head and to have more idea of visual spaces. And once you've done that, you're going to divide each half in half. So you're going to divide this space into quarters, really. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Oh, got it this time. Right, and then I could just come down here. Because 2, 3, 4, these should all be the same size. So I'm going to divide this space in this line into quarters. And then once I've done that, I'm going to draw a line across the middle like this. And then I'm going to like give you a kind of standard. If you remember, the width of this line should be somewhere between like here and here, usually. Here and here, this quarter. So let's just say, I mean, or it could be up there, or it could be down here, or it could be a little bit higher. It just depends on how long the face is. I kind of think the width is pretty much the same everywhere, like much more likely that the width is the same, but the length of the face tends to change from person to person. So as a reminder here, just quickly, so that you understand what I'm talking about. Got my handouts all ready. So if you remember, right, this document. So you'll notice Mark's and Rahul's faces are a little bit longer. Malie's and my faces are a little bit shorter. So when we check our measurements, actually, I think, well, we can't check these because they're not exactly the same, done at the same distance. But when I check this distance to here, you can see that the width of Malie's face kind of comes up to about here, probably a little bit above the quarter point. Right. Mine also, I'm going to put my quarter point in here. Oh, wait, really? Wow. Yep. Mine is like significantly above the quarter point. Yeah, it's about up here. Mark's, my quarter point, if his quarter point is about here, Mark's goes kind of more like right lined up with the quarter point. Quarter point kind of comes up here. I think same with Rahul's. Rahul's comes, yeah, at about the quarter point. So, hey Tosh, we're just kind of doing an idealized face right now. So we've started with a vertical line down. So let's make the width here the same distance as 3/4 of the way up the face. So here's 3/4 of the way up the face. Oh, look at that. It's exactly 3/4 of the way across. So let's make that our side points. So I'm going to have you bring this to here before we start. If you want to, of course, you can also kind of sketch in your egg. We'll be reshaping this later. If you want to, you can do that. But I'd like to really see that these things are the right proportion. So I'm going to take a picture, send it across, and then I'd like you to take a picture. So my eye line that's here exactly at the halfway point comes up to about the 3/4. What I notice, and I wonder if this is the difference between feminine and masculine, is that Mark's or maybe it's just random, these 4 people. Malise and my faces have a wider, right? We're wider and a little bit shorter, and the boys are longer and a little bit narrower. It's interesting, but I don't know if that's like true.
I think that's random.
I think it might be, yeah. You probably find women that just look like that. Okay, let's see. Sheen's already got her eyes in. Let's see how you did. Hold on. Real good. Yep, excellent. She's already got her eyes in. Yeah, you can do this if you want to. Just flatten it out.
You know,
It's okay. We're going to play around with this. We're not looking. Yes.
No, but like you always say that the eyes are, you know, you measure 5 across. Mm-hmm. But like I have really close set eyes, which is why when I wear glasses like this, I look like Fearless Fly because my eyes are so close set. And if you look at someone like Anya Taylor-Joy, who is in The Queen's Gambit, I think that's her name. Like her friends used to call her fish face because her eyes are so wide apart that they're.
You will find that difference is a millimeter. It's not anything. That's my point.
Really, it's okay because
look at these. Look at these 4. Look at these for example. You will find that difference is
really small,
almost nothing. It has to do with the slight widening. Remember the eyes. It doesn't really have to, like deep set, wide set, and narrow set has more to do with where the eye is sitting in the skull. It's like very little to do. It has very little. It's a teeny tiny. Hi, sweetie. Is that Bubbles?
Bubbles.
Hi, Bubbles. It has very little to do with it. I mean, you know, and you'll see this over time as we go over more and more. I can't tell you that and make you really understand that, but you'll see over time. It isn't that big. That's not where the differences are.
Okay.
The differences are, if you remember in the eyes, it's about things like where is the eyelash line to the upper lid line, how much space, skin is between the upper lid line and the eyebrow. That's what is the shape of the nose? What is the shape of the lip? But where things are is generally in the same place. So try not to get too caught up in that. So I am once again kind of guessing where I think, nope, I'm sure that's not right. Well, maybe it is. I'm kind of guessing where I think my eyes are. I know I have to have one eye on either side and then one eye between, one eye here, one eye on the end. So that's got to be 1, 2, oops. This, like that. There we go. I bet you that's right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want these spaces to be equally marked. If you're having a problem with this, measure it with a ruler and divide this number by 5, and you will have the number that you seek. We might as well put in our irises, because they're going to help us locate everything else. But we're not getting any more detailed about the eye. So now I'd like to see you guys come to here. Bring it to this place. Take a picture. And I want to see it at this place, even though it seems kind of tedious. Let me see. So I'm going to check, Tosh, if you don't mind. Checking there. All right, excellent. Height and width are good. Wait, here, yep, everything's looking good so far. Perfect, Toshween, perfect. Does this feel, and here's what I really love about this. This should feel totally wrong. I should feel like totally wrong because we haven't, of course, added things in like hairline, like, right? Because the hairline is generally kind of somewhere up here. There's maybe areas outside, right? We haven't got our ears in yet. While we're at it, yes.
I feel like when I was younger, I probably put the eyes like up where like at the 3/4 line.
Everybody does. Everybody does. They make the eyes huge. They make the ears really tiny. And that's just because and this is a great observation, Tosh, because what happens is when we look closely at something, we exaggerate the size of it in our mind. So because we look people in the eye when we're talking to them and we're trying to connect, we exaggerate the size of that. And we de-exaggerate the things that we aren't looking at, right? We kind of dismiss the things that we aren't looking at. So in drawing, that doesn't help us, right? Because we need to know how big things are in relation to other things. So everybody does it. Everybody puts the eyes up here, makes the neck really skinny. Oh my God, that one was my favorite. I mean, here, what is it? It's this girl, right? Didn't you draw this girl? Did somebody draw a version of this girl? Right?
Definitely.
Think. Little nose, because you don't even want to deal with that. Ponytail, skinny. Right? I mean, it's cute, right? But it's not like realistic, right? It's just not realistic. But this is what we do. So it's a good thing to observe because we do. I'm going to keep you there, actually, little girl.
I like her.
I like her too. She's kind of cute. She's got a place. This is what we would call kind of a primitive style of symbolic drawing, where we draw things in sort of simplified symbols, and kids go through a stage where they're doing that. Mariana, your Victor is right there. He's right there right now. He is right in that stage right now of going back and forth between symbolic, hi Victor, symbolic drawing and realistic drawing. So between the ages of like 5 to 10, symbolic drawing means you draw the head like a circle like this, right? And the eyes like circles like this. And it's the stick figure kind of thing. Or as a friend of mine, I remember a friend of mine who brought a 6-year-old to our nude figure model drawing. He took this very beautiful girl and he drew her like this. She looked like that. I think these were even bigger. I think they were even bigger than the head, right? So that's symbolic drawing. Talk about what you emphasize, like what we all emphasize. You know what? I'm just keeping these up here because I don't really get my, like, right? It was so cute. These little like the boobies. And then like this, she's a totally beautiful girl, and like that's how we do her. So this is symbolic drawing, right? And it is not realistic drawing. And what happens is, because you're not taught realistic drawing, you don't really learn what the real shapes are. You don't learn the real relationships that we're learning now. You get frustrated and think you can't do them, and that's where most people stop. That's kind of where we all were when we started as adults. I know that's where I was when I started as an adult. I was here, right? Because I didn't know where things were in relation to other things. Anyway, let's carry on. So one of the things that's really helpful to think about, I'm going to move, I might come back to this. But one of the things that I think is really helpful, would you remember what's at this quarter point, generally? Anybody remember? What's down here?
Bottom of the nose.
Yep, bottom of the nose. So we're going to talk more about this, and let's remember where the nose is lined up. So there's a little kind of tear duct right here, right on each edge of the eye. And the nose, regardless of the shape, the sort of side of the nose lines up with this edge that comes up on the side that shapes the nose. Now, regardless of whether the nose is a fox or a pig, which we will talk about later, this is kind of the width of the nose. Basically, the width of the nose is pretty much one eyelid, is what that means. We'll come back to this. And then let's divide this last quarter in half, totally messing up our symmetry. And where is the last, what's at this quarter? What is this halfway point of the last quarter?
The bottom of the mouth.
Yeah, the bottom of the mouth, right? So we know that the bottom of the mouth is here. We know that the middle of the mouth comes somewhere above, and even more importantly, this middle line of the mouth kind of lines up with the middle of the iris on either side. So you see, like, I'm going to take a picture of this so you can really see this. I think this is a really important point. Things shift and change. There's a lot of differences in faces, but they're kind of minuscule. That's why faces are so hard to do. I want to make sure everybody can see my symbolic drawing as well as my regular drawing. There we go. Right? And then the top lip, it doesn't come all the way to the edge here. So the edge of the mouth comes a little bit longer than the meat of the lip. That's because the mouth kind of creases. It's funny, I'm kind of automatically drawing my own lips because they're a little bit thinner. Others might be thicker, right? Make sure you extend this little line, this middle line, a little bit farther on each side. The biggest mistake people make is this, bringing their lip all the way out to the edge. Look how ridiculous that looks. See how silly that looks? Unless you're putting on clown makeup.
Looks like someone who's just had their lips done.
Right, right. And in a kind of exaggeration even there. All right, so this is pretty much kind of as far as we've gotten to. So one of the things I want you to notice, you guys go ahead. One of the things you'll notice as we're starting to kind of shape things out. Oh, here she is. Hey, Kaylin. So no Hermes today, but your jacket is over there. And this is Melissa. This is my friend Melissa, and you can sit and watch her for a minute if you want to see what she's doing.
Melissa makes the best earrings in the world.
She is experimenting. He's sleeping right now, and he wanted a nap. But if you want to look at what she's doing, it's kind of cool. Hermes, my cat, has a babysitter. She's a neighborhood kid, and she comes every day and plays with him very faithfully and tires him out. And it's really fantastic. But also right now, what's going on over here, and I think I'll show you guys because it's actually super interesting, is my studio mate Melissa is learning how to do enamel on the jewelry that she makes. So here, let me show you. I don't know if you can see what she's doing over here. Studio life. See, so they're working. Melissa's working with enamel. Kaylin is watching.
I'm just learning how to do it.
She doesn't really know how. She's playing with enamel. It's really exciting. Wait till you see it, Jean. It's going to be great. All right. So go ahead and send me. I want to see to here.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't figured out how to calibrate it.
bring it to this place. Let's see, Tosh. Nice. Nice. Okay, pretty good. You could extend the lip a little bit long, the middle line of that lip a little longer.
Okay.
Jean. This person looks very surprised.
Yeah. Well, I just started the eyes.
Right, fair enough.
And they're darker on the outside and in the pupils.
So your mouth is way too narrow.
Too narrow?
You remember this middle line extends out to and lines up with the middle of the iris on either side. And then the lip comes in a little bit before that.
Yeah, it's
what do I mean by that? Let's take a look. Oh, wait, you know what? I think I have the mouth. We'll talk more about this in a minute. You know what? I'll talk more about this in a minute so you guys can see. We're going to get some detail going in the mouth. But first, I want to kind of get things. I want to get you to the point of getting things in the right places so that when we start actually working on faces, which we might do next week, actual faces, you kind of know where things are. You know the lay of the land a little bit. And in this case, what I find is there's just so much we don't know, right, about what we think is happening versus what's actually happening. Mariana, I'd love to see yours at this stage. Isn't that cool?
So we'll see if the red turns out. I don't really know. Try these ones too. I'm trying to see that. Yeah, but it's this one didn't work at all. That's what I do, trial and error. I don't really know what I'm doing. Figuring it out. Burn it, melt it, call it good.
All right, set it over. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Oh, I see. You set it on the wrong thread. Easy to get there, Mariana. I mean, I will eventually get it. There we are. Okay. So Mariana, I want you to pay attention to this. Really pay attention to this. 1, 2. Your mouth needs to come up a little bit. And you do not show smiling by flipping and your lips have come right to the edge, right? You have the mouth. Believe it or not, you do not show smiling by flipping everything up. We're going to talk about that. This looks weird, right? And you're wondering why? You do not show smiling by flipping and so you want to remove part of this meat. You want to let a little bit of this line extend beyond the edge of the lip to line up with the center. Other than that, I think your other measurements, you're a good measurement follower, Mariana. I'm noticing that about you. Measurements are good. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Okay. I had another meeting and I have a cat who's taken over my studio.
Hello, buddy.
That doesn't happen to you.
Oh, I just put the right one in there.
So resist the urge to try to make things curve up like this. They do not. If you do that, if you do this, that does not solve your problem of a smile. Actually, opposite things happen than you think. Showing a smile is a different thing than you think. The shapes are different. Right. Okay.
Okay.
And then,
Thank you. Bye.
bye, Kaylin. I'll see you tomorrow after school. Thanks, honey. And then here's generally a good rule of thumb. And I think I want to talk about it for just a minute. So this last eye that's on eye length, that's on either side, the outside of the eyes, if you put a line kind of halfway from here to here, this is generally where the cheekbone kind of comes in and down, and the ear sits here on this edge. So if you, I mean, it's different on different people, but in general, for this idealized face that we're doing, if you divide each eye that's on the outside here in half, you draw a line down the middle. Here's where the edge of the skin and the cheekbone goes, and the ear kind of sits on the outside like this. And this is how big the ear is. It's usually, of course, totally depending on how much the person's face is tilted up or down. The ear is really from the top of the eye almost down to line up with the bottom of the nose. That's how much ear there is. Now, once again, we're drawing kind of an idealized person, right? So this will differ from person to person. But this is generally where, in a sort of hypothetical way, this is where the ears sit. And then the hairline kind of follows, right? So the hairline usually starts about here, and then maybe it comes down like this. It starts about, come over here, it comes down, right? Maybe the person has bang. We'll talk about that later. But can you see how this, and then the jaw kind of comes down here and extends down. And there's often a lot of reshaping that happens down here. If you'll notice, look what happens when I shape this kind of pointed. Look at the difference. Look at the difference in the facial structure. If I do this versus if I square it out, right? Look at how things shift, right? A totally different kind of face emerges, but it still stays, everything still kind of stays within the context. So even though this doesn't exactly look like a real person, this is kind of where everything goes. And then the last thing I'll show you, and I can totally show that to you here, is look at how thick the neck is. So notice, where does the neck line up? It almost lines up with the outside edge of the eye on either side. So it's kind of here. And then it's kind of here, right? Which is much thicker than people want to make it. People want to make it all skinny and spindly like this. It's not where the neck is. It might move a couple of millimeters this way or that way, right? You can also see that kind of where the shoulders sit is different from person to person. Look at how Rahul's chin comes in and that shoulder line comes in kind of right here, right? In Malie, the shoulder line, she's sitting up straight, her shoulder line is down here. So Rahul's is kind of comes up here. So that means he's quite tall. I think he's probably pulling his face in and kind of shrinking it down a little bit to make himself sort of intentionally smaller. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm about here. Mark and Malie are kind of their shoulder lengths. So where the shoulders kind of come in relation to each person is very different. Interesting, isn't it? We like to think of the neck as this thing in which like the head rotates well above the body, but Rahul must have his shoulders up a little bit. It's very different depending on who you're drawing. Super different. So I'm gonna give you some choices later on where you can make decisions about this, what you want to do. So let's get the face to this point, and then we're gonna talk about kind of noses, how much you want to use it. And it's related to our face planes exercise that we did last week. Don't worry, I'll remind you what that is. And then we'll talk a little bit about tips to draw the nose, tips to draw the mouth, tips to draw the ears. And then I'm going to have you add in. Jean, so try not to do this stuff yet because you're not here yet. You're not there yet. And also, you're still bringing the edge of your lip all the way here. You're bringing the meat of the lip all the way here. That's what you're doing. And that's not what's happening. There's that little center line. I know this is really hard to wrap your mind around, but that little center line, it extends a little bit farther than the lip, the meat of the lip. So bring that back in. Okay. Don't try to match the meat of the lip with the edge of this line. What's really happening is that the jaw is, let's see if I can show you this. Might be too much. It might make your guys' head explode, but let's talk about it for a second. What's happening is that the jaw, can you guys see up here? The jaw is connecting to the top of the skull. So the top of the teeth here are connecting to the bottom of the teeth there. And then there's a muscle. So there's a little depression, a little dip. Almost like a crease where these two lines, where the top and the bottom come together. So the lip isn't there. It's like this little extra. See it? Extender, because as the top and the bottom meet, anyway, there's muscle and bone there. You just have to believe it. You can't see it, you just got to believe that that's true. And you cheated? How did you cheat?
I went to head. I tried to draw.
Your neck is not thick enough on either side. On this side, it's not bad. On the right side, it's not bad, but on the left side, it needs to come out a little bit this way. And we'll talk about ears, but in general, I'm not going to argue with it too much. You're going to change it as we go in. You're going to add shading and do all kinds of things to it. Try not to jump too far ahead though, because it's easy to kind of miss certain things. I want you guys to really get these placements, because they make a difference. And then here's my question to you. Do you think I could have taught this in the first lesson? Or do you think it's easier to take this lesson now? That's what I thought.
I think last week was helpful.
Yeah, and I think the week before was helpful too, even though it was kind of incomplete, because I think we needed to have some satisfaction, right? Like, and dealing with the eyes the first time was really satisfying, right? And now we'll go back to the eyes, but like you really kind of have to see them in relation. Obviously, and Jean, I want you to observe your chin doesn't really have a shape. What's happening is you're kind of doing this.
Yeah.
And that's not really the shape of anyone's chin. There's a line that either comes straight down or it kind of goes at an angle. And then here, there's a shift in plane. That's because this part here, which is almost like, they draw it out like this. It almost looks like this, right? It's almost like a wide V. And then because there's the bottom jaw and then the chin that comes sticking out. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really do this bloop thing, right? It doesn't really do that. It has more of a, if you want to think about it as an angle line like this and a flat line and then an angle line like this, that's probably going to help you more than the lines that you've got drawn, right? You'll notice that that's where kind of your drawing starts losing its realism. Oh, we lost Mariana. Hopefully she'll come back. I know it's real easy to like jump ahead, but notice everybody who's jumped ahead has missed something. So like, I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying.
Oh, you deserve it.
Yep, and I get it. I get the desire to want to jump ahead. I get it. Yeah, I think this is a really good third lesson because by now you've started to do this thing here. So we're not really battling with this thing so much. We're not really battling with where things are. So now we can kind of put things in position. Yeah. And now I think we're ready to talk about the nose. Let's talk about the nose. All right. I put this in my book. This is how much I use it. Pigs versus foxes. I want you to look at the difference. So these noses are the same 4 people that you saw. So this is me. This is Leah. This is Molly. Trying to figure out which one is Mark's. Which one is... Yep, this is Rahul. And this one is Mark's. So let's talk about the nose, the differences in noses. So with the nose, where is my tape? So there's a couple of things to think about with the nose. One of those things is this. There are these 2 sidelines, right? They line up with the inside edge of each eye, okay? And then there's the bottom of the nose. And so the question becomes, and I'm really gonna sketch this out so you can really see the point here. The question is, where are these in relation to here? You'll notice with my nose, they actually sit above the bottom of the nose and they come down. See that? You'll notice with Molly's, they literally line up with the bottom of the nose. See that? The sides of the nose line up with the bottom of the nose. Mark's is kind of a hybrid between, it's the dip down is not so dramatic like mine, but it is slightly above, right? And Rahul's is a little bit more like mine. It's kind of more, right? So this is a key shape. Is it flat across? These lines on the side, I haven't even gotten to nostrils. We're not gonna get there for a minute. The question becomes, are you a fox or are you a pig? Yeah, you're checking. Everybody's, you can check. As my friend Lotto Pochwell once said, there are foxes and there are pigs. So the pigs are like Malay. They go straight across. These lines line up with the bottom of the nose, and you can see a little bit more of an arch right here, right? Look at mine. I'm a fox. And then he looked at me and said, Leah, you and me, we're foxes. No insults given on any of these. So as you're starting to develop your face, you're going to be sketching really, this bottom shape is the key thing that's important. Right? This bottom shape right here. Here, hold on. Let me remove this so you can see what I'm doing. I prefer foxes, so I'm just sort of automatically drawing a fox. You might like, here, hold on. Remove the spotlight. You guys might want to draw something. You probably want to draw something that's closer to your own nose, right? But this shape is really important. Getting this, so this thing that you did here, like this, Jean, see how kind of yuck that looks? That means that you're not paying enough attention. We haven't gotten there yet, but I want you to, this is too strong for what is happening here on the nose. The strongest lines should be this outer shape kind of, and how it bends and connects up. We'll talk about planes in a second. We want to get them in there, but we need the lines to be soft. We do want to shape the nose with the lines in it. We want the lines to be soft. And then let's talk about nostrils for a minute. So even though this looks like nostril, Malie's nostril is huge, right? You can kind of barely see mine because of the shape. Kind of, there's a little bit here. Malie's looks like you can see quite a lot of it. If you can look really close, you'll see that most of this nostril is actually, it's not all the same value. Only the very top line, only the very deepest part of the nostril is dark. So if you want to create a nose that doesn't look like a pig, that doesn't look too extreme, right? Like this, you cannot sketch in your nostrils like this. That's too much. You see how that looks like too much? It looks like too much, right? That's not, even though we think that's what we're seeing. So you need to de-emphasize the dark nostril with just a simple darkening of the line like that. That's all you're gonna do. Look at the difference. Even if you do Malie's nose, so let me just draw that for a second. Let's do a pig nose for a second, right? I'm gonna draw this here. I'm gonna draw this here. Here's the bottom of the nose. Here's kind of the shape of that nose. If I color this all in dark, it's too strong. Doesn't look right. It's too strong, it's too much. So I'm going to be focusing on, I'm going to just kind of make a little darkness there. That's it. See how much better that looks? So whether you're making a fox or a pig, you're de-emphasizing that nostril. And the reason you're de-emphasizing that nostril is you're kind of shortcutting, right? Let's see. Her nose is a little too, I feel like her nose is a little too thin, Tosh. Might be that the eyes are too wide. I think you've made your eyes a little too big, but we'll get there. Really focus on this. So this is your first job. And then the other thing to know about the nose which is hard to see and you kind of have to know about it, is that kind of from here, I'm going to erase these lines in a second, but from here to here, the nose is light. That's the bridge, or that's the, what do you call this? You know, the part that's thick, this part here. This part of the nose is sticking out, it's very light, but that doesn't carry all the way over to the bottom. This part of the nose, the bottom part, is shaded because it's turning away. So there's usually, you can see it here, little shiny reflective edges where it's light and then a little reflective edge maybe in the dark. But like the lightness, but we can't mark the lightness like this because it just doesn't look right. So we do a lot with just kind of general shading. Right, of the darkness here. So then you're like, well, Leah, how do we do this, right? Well, now here's where face planes come into play. Very softly, with the soft edge, I'm gonna shape my light, right? But I wanna be careful, and I will be adding in highlights, but I'm gonna be adding these in much less dramatically. So your face planes kind of come into play here. There's usually like a reflected edge. Maybe they come kind of up here. You want to be careful with your edges though, because the harder, do you see how like the harder you go, the weirder it looks shape-wise. So that's kind of the basic idea behind it. It's also
I totally missed you. How do you did the nose?
Honey, I just spent about 10 minutes talking about it. You're gonna need to, I'll review quietly, but I know, you're gonna need to watch the video on this one to really get it. I just talked about it. I'm going to recap really lightly, but I mean, I just literally spent 10 minutes talking about it. So
no,
let me just talk a little bit about it. So what I'm saying is you need to notice where these, so in summary, the nose does one of two things. These lines, the most important line to get is the very bottom of the nose and that little curve up on either side that indicate the side of the nostril. And it's either going to come up above and come down to the bottom of the nose, or it's going to line up with the bottom of the nose. Okay. And you're going to darken, you're going to, if I add in nostrils that are too dark and too big, it's going to look weird. That looks weird. That's too strong. So your nostrils are very light. It's usually a little darker line, like here. That's it. And then the middle of the nose is light. The sides of the nose are shaded, but you have to be really careful. If I add in a line that looks like this, the nose looks ridiculous. If I make my shading too strong, the nose looks ridiculous. You see that? So the idea here is soft edges. The nose is light to here. Please don't draw these lines in. I'm drawing them in so you can see them. And then it's dark here. It's dark here with one or two reflected edges. And then so you basically define your nose by the bottom with these bottom shadings like this. And then you're going to very lightly shade in the planes of the nose on either side. And then you'll need to build your planes up as well, kind of up here, right? In the bridge of the face, you'll need to return to it. So that is essentially the points of the nose. And then and notice also as well, there's usually a cast shadow. So depending on where the light is coming from, this direction or this direction, the nose might be going this way, the shadow. There'll be a little bit of a shadow here. Okay. Let's talk about mouths for a second. Because everybody's having a little bit of trouble with this. It's natural. Here are the mouths. So notice there's a lot of different variation here, but here are the similarities. Notice that the edge of the mouth comes out a little bit beyond the edge of the lip. The lips here, right? The edge, the center of the mouth, which is this dark line like this, comes out a little bit farther than where the meat of the lip goes. Here's my mouth. Here I am. So observe something, Mariana. Remember how you tried to draw the lips going up like this? You can see I'm smiling here, right? This is my mouth. Notice that in this case, only this line kind of quirks up a little bit. This line comes down. So it's only the middle line that kind of quirks up a little bit. Everything else goes the opposite direction.
I think, Leah, if I can interrupt for a second.
What's that?
I think it's very important now that you're talking about the mouth that we should quote the much beloved John Singer Sargent, who defines a portrait as a painting where something is wrong with the mouth.
Yeah, the mouth is really hard to do. Mouth
is very hard to do. It's the worst, worst.
Yeah. So give yourself patience on these. It's easy to get these two wrong. Look at this. So here's Mark's mouth. You'll see there's even this little dark area here. Here's where his lip starts. Right? In. And Rahul's very dark edge here. Lips. Right. So whatever your mouth is doing, whether it's thin lips or thicker lips, right? Or more full lips, right? Whether it's smiling, whether it's more serious, whether it's kind of a slight smile, whether he's being more serious, right? It's the center line that kind of curves things up. And then the other thing I want you to observe is that in all cases, the top lip is darker than the bottom lip. So notice that the top lip is darker because the top lip is actually turning away from the light. And the bottom lip is kind of pouting out and picking it up, pushing out towards the light. So darker, the lip is darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. In fact, it's so light on the bottom that in some cases we can't really even see the line all the way across. So it often helps to kind of, can you see how I've got this here? To kind of leave these lines undrawn on the bottom lip and just do a little bit of shading, a sort of medium shading. So for example, it would look a little bit like this, dark here on the top, and then really dark, the darkest here, the center line. And then the bottom, it's kind of dark here, a little darker here because the chin is here. And maybe you see the difference? There's light spots. It might be a medium, but it's not going to be dark. Okay. Once again, we're still not really drawing. We're going to get to the point. We have another, after we've reviewed these, we've got about 10 more minutes of review, and then we're going to talk about, and then of course, and then I'm going to let you kind of roll. Ears are really huge, and that's really the biggest thing I want you to get. Ears are big, they're long, they're usually lined up. Let's see. You can see where the top and the bottom here is in my ear. The top of the ear lines up with the eye line, the bottom of the ear lines up with the bottom of the nose, right? With Mark, you can really see it, but my hair mostly covers it, but you can still see it kind of on the side, right? Mark is slightly turning his head up, which means that his ear starts kind of right below the eye line, and it lines up almost like to his mustache. If you look across, Rahul's ears also come down almost below his nose. And Mali's kind of line up just at the bottom of basically at the bottom of the nose or a little bit lower. So that's about as extensive as we're going to get. Also notice that in every single situation, it does not matter what color the person is, the hair is darker than every other part of the face, or is as dark as any other part of the face. The only exception is if somebody has gray hair, then it's lighter than everything else. So it doesn't matter what color your skin is. You can look at Jean, you can look at me. In fact, let's stop that for a second. I just want to remove the spotlight. Go into gallery view for a second so you can look at all of us. Jessica, can you put your face up here for just a second so we can see it? Your pretty little face. Oh, maybe she's in a meeting.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, put your face. Put this on. Mariana, stop looking. Look up for a second. Tosh, look up. Jean, look up. Jessica, look up. Different skin tones all over, right? Notice how dark our hair is as compared to our skin. So our hair is going to be as dark, even though Mariana's a blonde, even though Jean's got these beautiful little light streaks in her hair. Jessica, Tosh, and I are darker haired. still our hair at base is darker or as dark as any other part of the face. Is the part of the darkest face. So the key here is not to draw. Okay, I'll pop this back up. Thanks, Jessica. I'm drawing that. The key here is not to draw every hair like this, because that looks silly and also impossible, but to really get the darkness, go super dark with the hair. Right? Super dark. I seem to be drawing a dude. You don't have to draw a dude. There are things you can do to stop drawing a dude. Let's see, if I didn't want to draw a dude, I'm drawing a kind of hypothetical dude, right? I'm not trying to draw every hair. I'm really trying to get kind of heavy, dark coverage. If I was going to draw like Jean's hair, I'd kind of, I'd start with this darkness and then maybe sketch in a bang that's a little darker, a little bit lighter. And either get darker around it, right? Or kind of pull my eraser through a little bit in places, right? So there'll be areas of your hair, like Malie's hair, where things are lighter or darker. But for the most part, this is a pretty solid dark with light patches, light and medium patches kind of sprinkled throughout. If I wanted to, I don't know, give her ponytails, I suppose I could do that. There we go. Right? I don't know. Like, I could do things to like make this person look, you know, different. I'm just trying to illustrate some basic points here. And then of course, there's all the information that we've already learned about face planes, right? So here's where you start to see, I can sketch in the shading of the face. And then up here, over here, it's a little bit darker.
Hey, Leah.
Huh?
Can I show something?
What is it? Tell me first.
Face planes.
Yes.
I'm sorry because I'm hijacking you a little bit, but you're talking about face planes. But I want to show people something very quickly.
If you think it will not confuse them, then I will
not confuse them. It will absolutely not confuse them.
Okay.
Can I share my screen?
Mm-hmm. Hold on. I'm just going to make you a co-host so you can do that. Okay. Yes, you should be able to do that.
Thank you.
I'm going to remove.
Thank you for letting me. Thank you.
I'm going to let you do that. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know you're always helping. It's always helpful.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to put this up so everybody.
Please let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see your screen.
Cool.
Yes.
This is an app called, I forgot what it's called. If you look at a sorrow head, then you'll find it. It does
sorrow
sorrow,
head is what
Loomis.
we sketched last week.
Do you want Loomis or do you want a sorrow?
A sorrow, please.
So I actually think the Loomis one is a little better, but it's a little more simplified. How it starts with the basic sphere with the sides cut off, right?
Right.
And then you put the chin in, and these are the planes, and you can go more and more detailed.
Yes, I like it. That's cool. What's the app? Can you send us the deets?
Yeah,
I think it's a little overwhelming, but I think it's good to see this. Look at that one. That's a great one. Can you guys see?
The sorrow head. Yeah. And in this light, you can change the pose. You can change the lighting.
Can you make it look straight on so they can see what it looks like from straight on? Yes. Yes.
Change the intensity and like where the light comes from.
Yes.
So it's very cool.
Nice.
Like
oh my God, that is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Can you send that over? That is a great link.
Yeah, it's an app and it's not free, but it's worth it.
Oh, got it. Okay. If that is overwhelming to you guys, what I want you to, but Jessica's really showing you is that like there are light parts of the face and dark parts of the face, like we practiced. And as we're starting to sketch in, right, the face, we can start to know where the shading is going by thinking about the planes. You don't have to sketch them in, right? But you can see here, for example, there's a kind of dark coming in here. You can see that it's kind of like,
I'm going to broadcast. I'm going to stop here. Leah, you're back on.
Oh, right. Let me.
Yeah,
here. I started doing it. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me show that.
Was that helpful for you guys to see that? Does that make sense? Or is it too much? You can say it. I mean, whatever. Like what we're trying to get, what I'm trying to get you to get is that there's a kind of way to add shading in.
Well, you have to know where your light source is, like Leah says all the time.
Right. Notice that like it's a little bit lighter up here. It tends to be a little bit more shaded down here. If you want a kind of classic, but look at what happens as I start to add shading. See what happens as I start to gently, lightly, softly, as I start to head shade, start to add shading. Notice a couple of things. Observe, for example, how dark most things are, except for in a couple of areas, right below the face. Notice how dark things are, kind of above the eyes. Notice that there's this kind of light area here and then a kind of shadow underneath. See how this person has started to kind of look more like a person? A simplified version. So this is the face planes, but a simplified version of this. Did I take a picture of it? I'll take a picture of it. A simplified sort of version of where the planes are is this. I will take a picture of it and show you. So here's the thing about faces. I think the thing to know is there's a lot of pieces that need to be included. And when you're jumping ahead to do features and make the eyes all big and, you know, I don't know, luscious looking, and you're trying to make those luscious lips working, here's a great face plane shading. Ugh, here. You think you have all the pieces, but all of these pieces have to be included to kind of make the face look like a face. Jean, your neck needs to be much wider. Remember, look at where the neckline lines up. It lines up at the outside of the eye. And also, you're still doing this kind of wonky thing here. So now you've done this, right? It's kind of more like this. I want you to look at the straight, I want you to look at the side of the face, Jean. I want you to kind of erase your side of the face and watch me. It's kind of a straight line down, and then it's a straight line angled in, and then there's another straight line angled, flat, straight, straight, straight. It doesn't go like this, right? Because that makes it look kind of weird and fat. It's kind of a straight block. Angle, 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 straight. So straight, angle in even more. Flat, angle in, angle out, straight up. I just sent you this, which is kind of basically where the shadow and the light areas are. So I want you, Tosh in particular, you are in need of this to get that shading in on your face so that the face looks, I think it's gonna help you kind of get your features in the right place. So we're not drawing a real face, right? You can draw at some point you can take a little bit of liberty here. I'm seeing too much facial. I'm seeing too much hair, Tosh.
Okay.
I'm seeing too many individual hairs.
Okay.
That's not how it looks. It's darker. I guarantee if you're using this is nice. There's a lot of things that are nice about this, but I want you to look at sort of where, and I also feel like her eyebrows may be going a little bit, they're kind of going straight across. Eyebrows don't really do that. They kind of go down because this is the side of the face.
Okay.
And down like this. They don't really go. If you look at eyebrows, in fact, I have a whole section on eyebrows. I'll show you eyebrows. Check it. Eyebrows don't go straight across because remember, this is the side of a face, right? It's kind of turning away from you. Eyebrows go like this. Do you see any eyebrows that look straight here? Nope. These ones go up. These ones go down. These ones are so big, they also curve down. Mine kind of do this thing. So here, as you're starting to, I want you to work on the eyes. Eyebrows are actually the most distinctive part of the face, one of the most, besides the nose. Really, it's the eyebrows. Thank you very much, by the way. Oops, somehow I clicked you guys a message. Okay, so that's Tashween. I think once you start to put in your face planes, your darks on the side, right? Mm-hmm. Your darks in here, you're gonna start to see where like these feet, your face is gonna look a little less flat and more like a person.
Okay.
Right? You try that, right?
Is this face plane you? Because it does look like.
Yeah, that face plane is me. Because when it comes down to it, I know I'm not going to sue myself for libel for using my face. So,
well, it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Recognize you.
Thank you. Well, good. If you can recognize me, this one is me too. I like to call this bionic me or robotic me. Right? If I'm adding in this kind of like detail in here, like this. Right.
I've noticed that the 2 times I've done this, that my head keeps looking like a little girl. And I wonder if it's because of my shading too. Like,
well, you're not doing shading. So that's like, yeah, right. There is no shading. There is no shading, right? So try and get your shading in and you will start to see that you're going to reshape your jaw. You're going to reshape your nose. You're going to pay attention to what actually is happening with the eyebrows. Remember with the eyes, it's kind of darker in the center around the edge and with the iris, and then it's kind of darker on the middle of the iris and lighter towards the bottom, right? Darker towards the middle of the iris, lighter towards the bottom. It's the same with the white of the eye. It's a slightly shaded at the top here and lighter at the bottom. Remember that eyelashes are generally kind of a darkening that gets thinner, a dark, thick line with maybe 1 or 2 things coming out here. Remember also that the bottom eyelid is very light. So we want to reflect that here, like this. Don't forget your reflected light. You can put it in with your eraser and darken around it. And then very important, don't forget what your upper lid line is doing. Is it close to your eye and your eyelash line? Can you see a little bit of skin? Oh, look it, I just made my person look more like a woman. One of the ways I can do that is to leave space between the upper lid line and the eyebrow. It's considered very feminine to have a little bit of skin here between the upper lid line and the eyebrow. Look at that, see that? If I bring it down here like this, Look at how different. I could still be feminine. I know that although, so that's what we're paying attention to. So do what you can. Do what you can here to create a face that looks kind of like a real face. Make a decision. You can use my little map that I just sent you a picture of to get your shading in and decide. This is shading, obviously. What direction is the light coming from? It's coming from this direction, right? So everything is, the light parts are lighter on this side. The forehead's lighter on this side. That means it's darker on this side. That means the dark may come all the way down here. Oh yeah, there we go. It's kind of a medium here. And then it's definitely darker in here. Now may be the time to take away my little cross marks because they're getting in the way of my face, right? So as I'm kind of sketching through here, everything, all these things are helping to kind of shape the nose. Notice how how dark everything is kind of down through here. It's almost all connected. Notice how, let's see, eyebrow comes out even a little bit further. So I always end up drawing kind of my own features since those are the ones I know. But you don't have to do that. I'm just kind of showing you how as you start to sketch in the features of the eye. And we'll go over this stuff as we start to work real faces. We're going to go over every single one of these ideas. But I want you to have an idea in general of where things are and have some practice working before we try to actually have to deal with getting likeness. So there's a little bit here. Notice that the edges of the chin and the edge of the face on this side are pretty dark, on the dark side. Even though I have these defined as hard lines, don't draw them in as hard lines. They're defined as hard lines so that you can see them. I remember when I first realized how much shading was in the face. I was like, oh my God, it looks so dark. But look at now, this is somebody who's starting to look like a person. It's like faces are darker than we think they are. A lot more darks. This is a lot of information to incorporate. So remember, wherever you're at is where you're at. You don't have to get it. We're going to spend 3 months practicing this. So you'll get better. It'll get easier. You'll be shocked. Now here's another little trick to the nose, or to the mouth. Because this upper lip line is so dark, there is always a little light line right above the lip. So everything's kind of more shaded all around this little light line. You will see that painters put it in. It's a kind of important line. It's interesting to show as a light. A lot of areas aren't so important, but this one is. Yes, so do your best. And Mariana, don't worry about what you missed. Just do your best. I'm going to work with you on individually as you're sending stuff over.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay, of course.
I lost the call, so I just lost the most
I totally
important
get
thing.
it. It's not your fault. It's just that, like, for the flow of the class, we can't, like, you know what I mean? The beauty of this is that, yeah.
But I think I got it at the end.
The edge. Yeah, the beauty. I just want you not to worry about it, is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to say, don't worry about it because it's in the recording, so you can always get it. Including me telling you, Mariana, it's in the recording. But also I'll help you kind of personally as you're starting to work on it. I can kind of bring you through it. These are also, you guys aren't going to get all this. I don't expect you to understand all of this. Oh yes, and then there's the dark side of the net.
I have a question. So
yeah,
how can we add a little bit of detail to the ears?
I would not worry about that. I don't think you're there yet.
Right.
I would not worry about that. I guess what I would say is maybe a little, you kind of shade the ears, kind of a medium. You can see that we can see the ears next to the hair. So make the hair kind of dark and then sort of shade the ears, a kind of medium, right? And then you'll see a little bit of dark up here. But less is more with the ears right now. I think I wouldn't worry about it until you get everything else. If you get everything else, I will talk to you about ears. How's that? Seem fair? So look how even just adding this little bit of dark up here where this little kind of corner turns in and a little bit, but you don't want to add too much detail because we do as much as we, just the biggest thing is to make sure you've got the length of them correct. Oh yeah, it's starting to look like a person, not a real person, but a kind of person.
I'm gonna have to jump off, but
okay.
So you recommend just continue to shade. I also
maybe
my face got too small. Like,
what's that?
Did my face get too small?
Yes, it did, especially towards the bottom here. So yeah. I think the same thing happened to you that happened to Jean. You kind of you did this.
Yeah.
Right? And really what's happening, look here, and you can really see it on Mark's face here. It's like a straight line down. And then there's another little straight line, then a hinge.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can sketch it so you can really see it. Look at this. Straight, angled in, straight, angled in,
yeah,
angled
that looks
out. Right? Right? So it's really, it's the skull kind of comes straight down past the ears. And then there's a slight tilt. There's a slight curve, like there's a slight angle in. And then it angles in again when the jaw sort of below, just right below this line, because the jaw attaches. So yeah, and so Jean was kind of doing the opposite. She was kind of doing this thing, this balloony thing, and you did this, right? So both of those things, I might, this doesn't really capture what's happening. This also doesn't capture what's happening, right? There's actually several plane changes happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? There's like 4 plane changes happening. So yeah, great question. It helps once you get your features in to check things like you can take your eye and check like how wide is the edge from the edge of the mouth, how wide is this space here? It's usually about 1 eye width.
Okay.
Right. You can check how many nose widths. You can see that it's pretty much 1 nose width over to the ear, right? To help you kind of find the outside parameters of where things are.
I'm not sure if I fixed it, but I'm gonna send it.
Just keep working on it. Just keep working on it throughout the time. This is like full on. So just so that you guys know, that was a lot of information. I'm really glad I didn't give that to you on the first lesson. I'm glad we're getting it on the third when it feels like so much better. Right.
Is that better, Leah?
Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. Here, I'm way up here. It's better.
Okay.
Better. I still feel like there's a kind of a disconnect. And your nose, your nostril, much too strong. Nostril line's much too strong. You really want to get the outside shape of the nose and not this like piggy little, not this thing here. Not that. That's not the emphasis. See how I changed this face and it looks less believable now? Less is more when it comes to the nose. It's this outer shape that we're interested in.
And then the chin, you're saying that's still not getting the second plane.
I think you're starting to get there. I don't really feel, the mouth feels too small. Oh, that's the biggest issue. Oh my God, your mouth is way too small. Your mouth line, the middle mouth line should come out to here. Yours comes out to here.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. There's a big problem. Starting to get there. Right. I like your shading under the neck here. That's nice. You don't really have much shading happening up here in the nose or the, you know, like, so get your shading up here. Get this kind of slightly more shaded area here, which is darker than what's happening up here. Right. The more shading you get in, the better. So Mariana, remember I said not so strong. Even though I've drawn these edges in strong, I want you to work on soft edges. We talked about this yesterday with the spear. It's exactly the same. Don't draw those. Those are drawn in so that you can see them. But obviously when you put them in, they look like a clown face, right? So you want to soften.
Okay.
Soften. Also, you still have the bottom lip is too dark. Make it a little bit lighter, kind of erase it down there.
Alrighty.
Let's see. Your upper lid line is really not very developed. So it's just kind of sitting there, right? So look at an upper lid line. Look at your own upper lid line and see what it's doing in relation to your eyebrow. Okay. I think that will help you. I like where things are. It's getting better. Jean, eyes are way too big. Number one, you've got no upper lid line. None at all. Number two, you've drawn this hard line down here like this. That is not what's happening with the face. Erase this line down here. It's much softer. It's kind of like here and here. That's maybe all you'll see. Soften, darken the top, lighten the bottom. Also, nose is way too narrow. Yeah, you're getting there though. And I feel like the neck is way too long. Like most necks don't go that long. Neck kind of comes up here a bit more. Right? But when I bring it down here, it looks kind of like, they look like one of those ladies with the things on her neck. You guys are doing good. Thank you, Josh. Thanks for this. This is a practice and you're very beginners, all of you. So you're not going to do this well. There's going to be a lot of things that you're not going to do well. I'm going to say that right now. I want you to, so as I'm going through and correcting you, I hope I'm not hurting your feelings. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going, oh, this is great, blah, 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 blah. I want you to know you're right where you need to be, but I'm trying to get you to the error places, right? So you're doing great. I'm doing this because you will get better faster. Jean, having gone through faces a couple times before, are things starting to make sense? Is this making a little bit more sense than the first couple times? I can't hear you, my love.
Getting from my brain to the hand is a different.
Is the hardest part. Yeah. That is the hardest part, right? That's the hardest part. Is so just keep doing. Anyway, just keep working it. You'll get there. Mariana, you might take your eraser like this and kind of like run it along the edges of all your lines so nothing is hard anymore.
Ideas to blend because I'm using the finger, but you know, if I use the eraser, it's like too wide. So.
Yeah, we need to get you. Hey, Jessica, what's the name of that thing? The paper thing that you use to blend with, the blending stick. They're blending
it's
sticks.
called a blending stump, but
yeah, blending stump.
I think you shouldn't use one.
Yeah, they kind of got to learn how to.
I think you should control your graphite, and those honestly, like you see those drawings that people do, and they're all like smudged. It's like the worst way to control your values.
I agree.
So I would not use it. Don't get one.
Just control your graphite.
Pencil. Control your graphite.
You guys will learn it. Once again, this is a beginner class, right? So you're just learning, as Jean was saying, you're just learning how to get the things to do the thing. Get the thing to do the thing. How do you like that for like?
That was great.
Was that just awesome?
I think you should write a new book about getting the thing to be the thing.
To do the thing. I'm getting there, Tosh. I like the eyebrows much better. I like the eyes. Now I feel like the eyes are not so big and weird looking. Oh, she left. And you're still getting there. Anyway. So Mariana, you can see when somebody who's never really done this before says to me, I want to do faces with simple watercolor washes. I'm like, oh my God, you have no idea where I have to go to be able to get to do that.
Yeah, I totally see it now.
But you know,
but just to be sure, my idea was not to make realistic watercolor portraits, was to draw lines and then to fill with watercolor, which is different things. So it was not, my idea was not to do this in watercolor.
Right, but it was because the example you gave me was exactly this. It's just in watercolor rather than. So you may not think that, but like, yes, what you gave me was a very well proportioned face.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So this has to come first, then we'll get there. I swear to God, totally. Before the end of the quarter, we're gonna get there. But
alrighty.
but you know, that's when I'm just like explain to you, like, and actually I'm doing it pretty particularly because you asked for it, and I think it's a great thing to move towards. But I guess what I want you to get is, to get there, we have to know so much about where faces are, where the shading in the face is, how to kind of express the features, right? There's a lot that goes into this work. There's a lot of work that goes into this. You guys have 20 minutes, so work away. But there's a lot of kind of placing and understanding about light and shadow that you have to get first before you can really pull something like that off. It requires a lot of skill. I guess there's just a lot of skills to it, but you'll get there. You know, what I noticed about you, Mariana, you are very good with measurements and directions.
Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. So you're following very, very well, and you're going to do well. You're going to do very well quickly. Some students resist the direction. And then it becomes very hard.
I agree with you. I just want to jump to, for example, instead of doing a face today, I wanted to do one gesture. So one gesture in the face, not a straight face, but you know, like.
Oh, you want to do that? That's another year.
No. Right.
You know what you want to do.
I say just one gesture.
I know you want to do it, and to do that is like, that's like when Gina said, well, what do you do when the face isn't straight on, the last lesson? I'm like, oh, Gina, don't ask me that now. I will confuse everybody.
Got it.
Yeah, it's all knowing where things are. And there's no way to it but to go through it, right? You can't go over it. You can't go under it. You can't go around it. You have to absolutely go through all the paces.
How come when I'm drawing the mouth, it feels right, and then I look at it and it's lopsided?
Because you're making things too big and you're trying to curve all of the lines of the mouth up. You're doing a similar thing that Mariana was doing where
I'm not, I've redone it like 3 times, but it's still, the whole mouth is sideways.
Can you send it?
I just did.
Okay, let's see.
I've redone the corners of it, but it's,
well, you're still doing this. You're still going to the edge here.
Hey, Jean, what part of the mouth? Jean, what part of the mouth are you drawing first when you start drawing your mouth?
That's a great question.
I don't remember because I've done it 5 times now.
I'm going to tell you what part you're starting with because I can probably tell from your drawing.
She's doing this.
Yep. You're starting with the
like
top and you're going around and then you're going back because you're right-handed, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
don't do that.
You're doing.
That's why it's lower on the left side, my left side.
Right.
No, draw the center line first.
Yeah, draw the center line first and draw the lips around it. Great observation. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate exactly what you need to draw with your mouth.
Okay, I am going to argue with you guys because I did do the center line first and it was lopsided.
Well, do it again.
Then
so
do it again so it's straight.
The line that aligns the eyes, that horizontal line, Leah probably has it somewhere in her book she can show you. The line that you use to measure the plane of the eyes right here,
this one,
your nose line and the mouth line are all parallel.
They're right. So eye line, nose line, mouth line. You just got to make it straighter. But see, Jean, this is what you're doing. You're not really ending the lip here. You're still ending the lip out here. You're still ending the lip too close to the edge. You should think about the mouth as this kind of like little dark triangle here. And then the lip coming in before that.
Jean, I think you have to slow down too because you're not measuring. You're going too fast.
Yeah. That's okay. It's hard to, these guys, remember, these guys are beginners. So they're like, yes, I agree.
But that's even, I think, more reason to slow down a little bit because you don't have a time limit on it. Like it's not time. It's not a contest. And this stuff does take time.
It takes a lot of time.
It really does.
It takes a lot of time.
The thing that Leah's trying to get you all to do, if I can summarize it really, really well with faces, and sorry to be your personal bully, Jean, but I'm going to use you as an example here in your drawing because you're still drawing what you think you know
as opposed to what's what really happening.
Is. And Leah's trying to get you out of what you think you already know.
Right.
By doing the planes and the measuring. So like you have to like kind of forget everything you know because it's wrong.
Here's a great example. You've sent me the mouth looks a little bit better, Jean.
The mouth is
now
better.
Look at your nose. The nose is like not in any way close to the edge of the eye. So this part of the eye has to line up with this inside tear duct. Your nose is barely even touching the eye, the line of the nose. So really the nose has to come out a couple millimeters on each side. Like these are the things that are like, I think kind of mucking with you. You're also kind of quickly, I asked you to put an upper lid line. You did, but you weren't really looking at like what does that mean for my eyebrow, right? What's happening over the upper lid line? So the eyebrow sits right here, right? So what's happening under? What's happening to the skin over the top of the upper lid line? If you can see this, it's kind of shadowed. So it's like, it's just like, just spend a little bit more time with the shapes, but that's okay. We'll get there. You're all gonna get there. You're gonna get there one way or the other. Mouth looks better though, a little bit. Also,
well, the eyes I've been practicing, you know, I've sent you several sets of eyes. Those were all men's eyes.
Oh, you know what else is problematic, Jean?
Yeah.
You have, your eye line is no longer at the halfway point. You've brought your chin down too low. So look at this. When I measure up here versus down here.
Wait, I can't, sorry. Can you move what you're doing over to your left? Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so look at this. The middle of the eye line, right? From here to here. That should be, if I come here, that should be at the bottom of the chin. Look at where that is.
Yeah, because when you kept telling me to change the planes, it got longer and longer.
Okay, so that's, so then obviously you're not, that's not the, right? Like, so,
right.
Yeah, that's missing the direction. It's not to make things longer, it's to change the shape of things up here and maintain.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not going to take blame for that one. I'm going to say.
No, I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you.
But like, but what I'm saying is, come on.
The more I tried to shape the chin, the longer it got. But yeah, I'm not blaming you. No, that's me.
Yeah. So this is also an example of going too fast. Like you're going so fast and fixing, and it's also kind of an obsession with the fixing, the one fix, and not thinking about the whole. So never forget this and this, your top and your bottom. That's your sacrosanct, top and bottom. If you're going down here, if you're doing this, then something's wrong, right? That is not a mistake that you need, you know, that's not worth it to make it. You're spending a lot of time with this face. So bring it. So when you lose that, gain it back, give it back, get it back. So, but that's okay. I mean, it's also showing that like what happens is when one focuses on an area, you make it too big. One makes it too big, not just you, everyone. Yeah. Right. So you've kind of constantly got to bring yourself back. Well, that's what this is practices. You guys are doing great. And I feel like before, Jean, you wouldn't have even been ready for this. You're ready now. You can do it. You're ready. You're ready.
No, I don't know that I agree, but.
You can do it, Jean.
You can do it. All of you can do it. Mariana, you can do it. Tosh Wayne is gone, can do it.
Leah, you can do it.
I can teach it, maybe. Actually, after I end with you guys, I have to start my my last commission of the moment, which is a portrait. So there you go. I'll probably just totally fuck it up.
Did you finish the bridge?
It's almost, yes. I'm going to say yes.
I mean, I saw it Tuesday and it looked amazing.
Thank you. I'm going to say yes. I was there another 4 hours after you guys ended class. And by the end of it, I was pretty sure that I was done. I haven't looked at it in daylight though. So I'm going to go back and look at it in daylight. And I'm assuming there'll be fixes, but I want to say, at the very end, I brought Bruce and Lori over, the two people who commissioned me to do it. And I was like, stand back. And when I had Lori stand back, she went, oh. And when I had Bruce stand back, he went, oh.
Oh, that's good.
And I was like, that pretty much tells me I'm done.
Congratulations.
It's funny because they'd been walking back and forth it all day. Right. Like they just hadn't stopped to look at it. And then I was like, after 4 hours, I was like, okay, I want you to step back. Oh.
Because I'm sure they've been looking at it while you're working, but not stopping.